Good morning, doctor. Welcome back.
Good morning, Venkatesh. Nice to be back with you.
Thank you, doctor. So, our topic for today is keep adapting. The reason it's part of our series on wellness and this focus on positive wellness is because our ability to adapt to our circumstances and the changes in them is a very important part of how we can maintain our wellness and be constructive, right? And to the
Right.
extent that we sort of resist change or resist the changes in our environment, we don't play to our full potential, as it were. And it is for that reason this is part of our series. Yes? Over to you,
Right.
doctor.
Right. Thank you, Venkatesh. The word adapting has to be understood properly
Yes.
because many people confuse adapting with adopting. Yeah, adopting is like adopting a daughter or a son-in-law or somebody, whereas adapting is a complex set of phenomena
Right.
where the body reacts and then assimilates and then keeps absorbing more and more in a proper random way. Yeah,
Right.
both proper and random way.
Correct.
And we will see the details. We'll see the details shortly. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes. Please proceed.
Yeah. Thank you. Now, this slide says keep adapting.
Yeah.
Now, anyway, we don't need the slide to tell us to keep adapting because most of us do keep adapting on our own. And we are not even aware that we are adapting to these changes. As we will see, changes from, for example, an ape becoming a man is
Correct.
a phenomenal adaptation. Yeah. And it's not adopting. And this is happening. Ape becoming a man is happening, was happening. And even today it is happening. Man is also changing. Now, this is adaptation, which
Correct.
has to be understood properly so that we can live our lives in a more value-based manner.
Correct.
Now, there is a natural thing called biological adaptation. Just now, I gave you the example of ape and man.
Correct.
Now, ape and man, when ape was converted to man, there was no man around to guide that adaptation. Yeah, it may sound a little odd or silly, but biology by itself has a phenomenon of adaptation.
Correct.
Whether you are around or not, the Stone Age man was adapting, and that's what led to the development of civilizations and so forth. So
Correct.
that has to be understood properly. So, in short, don't confuse adaptation with adopting. Adopting is more of a limited nature.
Correct.
You adopt a relative or somebody.
Or
Now,
adopt the thought process. Correct.
yeah, uh, biological adaptation is happening and will
Correct.
keep on happening.
Correct.
It will after long after we are gone, and that also has a method in the madness. If
Correct.
ape is becoming a man and man is becoming a superman, maybe I don't know what will happen, or
Correct.
man will be destroyed by atom bombs. So that also can happen.
Correct.
So this biological adaptation comprises some phenomena, some steps, some
Right.
logic.
Correct.
That there is a method in the madness.
Yeah.
He may say, no method. Why did a ape become a man? What was the method? Yeah, it's madness. So madness has its method. Any madness has its own method, which will be apparent only after deeper scrutiny and deeper perception.
Right.
So, for example, great toe is
Right.
bigger or little toe.
Right.
Now, both great toe and little toe have their own ways of adaptation. The little toe says, I have been around for 2 million years. You are not using me, so I'm
Right.
going away.
Correct.
Whereas the great toe will say, I need you for to have my good hold on my shoes or boots or playing games or so forth. So
Correct.
the great toe needs reinforcement, or it's what it gets. And the little toe will vanish. And
Right.
after a couple of millions of years, the little toe will disappear.
Correct.
This
Correct.
all example of adaptation.
Yeah.
So that is biological. Now you didn't require a great guy to guide you on that. Now Charles Darwin was the guy who broke the myth of creation. Man's creation by God was the gospel truth those days. That is about a couple of centuries ago. And he said, man will keep on sort of adapting himself, and that is the only way he can survive.
Right.
And he said, it is not the strongest of the species. It is not the strongest man. It's not the strongest Muhammad Ali or somebody who will survive, but the most intelligent person will survive. And that is why Einstein survived more than uh, some of these.
Yeah. I guess his point was that it is the one most adaptable to change, not even intelligent. It is the most
Right,
adaptable to change. Yes.
quite right, quite right. So then this was Charles Darwin's theory, which was poo-pooed. In fact, during his time, he faced a lot of ridicule from the church, from even the lay public. He said,
Correct.
"What nonsense! God created man." And even today, there is a school of thought in the United States, particularly, which doesn't believe in Charles Darwin adaptation,
The theory of
but
evolution. Yeah.
insists on divine creation. Like that.
Correct. Correct.
So that is, if you negate that, then you are closer to Darwin's theory of adaptation. And
Correct.
there is enough evidence to show that adaptation is the key operating factor.
Correct.
And we take a closer look at it. And Charles Darwin has gone more than a century ago,
Right.
but he's still relevant. And by and large, he is
Almost
accepted
two
today.
centuries ago. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
more than 2 centuries. Yeah.
right. Next slide, please. So if it is adaptation, and if adaptation is a change, the change is happening through and through, day or night and month after month or moment after moment. And that is only constant in life.
Right.
Change is the constant in life. This is a phrase borrowed by management theory people. And
Correct.
change is only constant. They will say the marketplace is changing, that is only constant, etc., etc., etc. But this particular concept came up from the days of Aristotle and the Greeks.
Right.
Heraclitus was a contemporary of Aristotle and Plato and all that. And he said the only constant is change. And he said, you don't cross the same river twice.
Correct.
People said, what do you mean? The river is there, I'm crossing it, big deal. Yeah. But he said, the river that you crossed yesterday is not there today. The
Correct.
river that you crossed 2 seconds ago is not there today, but something else has come. And
Correct.
similarly, the person that crossed the river, is not
Has
there
also
anymore.
changed.
He's
Correct.
gone.
Correct.
He executed the change and he's gone. And
Correct.
the new you comes. It's a
Yeah.
little again, one of those not easy to conceive statements or phenomena, but it is now accepted that even the Japanese school of thinking says that you are a different you now. And Buddhism especially, and they say that you are a new person, new entity, not even a person,
Correct.
so forth. So this only indicates the nature of the widespread nature of change and its role in real life, day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So Heraclitus or Hercules was it called? So he was the man who conceptualized and then brought into fore the concept of adaptation. This is adaptation.
Yeah.
You are changing the
So,
river, you are
correct.
finish.
No, so I think just pulling across till now, what we have been talking about and, is that because you said different things, I'm just sort of pulling it all together before we move to the next section.
Right.
Adaptation is our changes in response to the changes in our environment. Our own
Right.
bodies and we as species, the theory of evolution has shown that we are the products of continuous changing and continuous response to the environment. Only
Right.
those
Right.
features, to your point about the big toe, right? Whether it's features of our physical features or our mental features, they have all happened in response to the changes in the environment. As we adapt, those features that are useful and which are useful for the new environment remain. Others fall away, like the small toe analogy or like the appendix or the vestigial organ. But
Right.
change is a constant. Adapting to it is a constant, is the backdrop before we move to the next. I
Right.
thought I'd
Yeah.
just make that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Next slide,
I
please.
guess this is a pictorial representation of what you were just talking about. Yeah.
Right. Right. Here you start with a man and then go on to a more sophisticated man wearing clothes and taking a stick and so forth. But the man you see on the left side, he is naked. And that is how we started as a reference point.
Correct.
And next, please. So similarly, Okay, we'll come to this. Now, adapt, or, in short, if you put it in different words, you adapt and survive, or you don't adapt and you perish.
Correct.
Yeah. Only adaptation can help you survive and so forth. Now, adapt or perish is a slogan, again, going back to management theory and so forth. You adapt and you change the market, and you get changed by the market and so forth. So adaptation both ways. The
Right.
next slide. Now, adaptation occurs everywhere, every time, anytime. Now, here are the excuse me, pictures of bacteria, microorganisms, which are
Right.
tiny, and require a microscope to see, you know. And some of these microscopic organisms can survive without oxygen. They are called anaerobes. Now,
Right.
this was adaptation happening at the microscopic level.
Got it.
Now, the same organism, same anaerobes can also become aerobes, depending on their ability to change, oscillate between aerobes and anaerobes. Yeah. And some of them are rigid, so they are called obligatory. Some of them are flexible, so you call them facultative. But this is a mix of the types of organisms. The point to note here is these organisms are ultra microscopic. Many of them require electron microscopic and other complicated gadgetry to appreciate them. But facultative anaerobes are the examples. You see the bacteria are coming in different sizes and shapes, in different
Correct.
colors also.
Correct.
So there is adaptation happening right at there, and you can't see it. At this very moment, our stomach and our intestines are harboring facultative or obligatory aerobes or anaerobes, and it's a it's a mad world down there. You don't have a microscope, you can't see it, but there is a huge, complicated world that is driving this adaptation. So this adaptation will upgrade to different levels of adaptation. We'll
Correct.
see.
Correct. I think a very useful point coming across this, that, effectively, even the most primitive, if in our minds, primitive and small organisms, they show such incredible ability. Even the same organism can change its mode. It's not just that it evolves across millions of years. The same bacteria or the same class of bacteria can behave different in different circumstances. And
Right.
that is something that we as human beings have to understand. It is part of nature, this ability to be different in different circumstances. Absolutely.
Right. Right. True.
So changing gears, I guess, now taking it from the physical to the, to the next level, how we respond to change intellectually. Yes, Doc.
You can read this out for a change, and
Yeah, I
you will
think
be.
this is about acceptance and its reality. It's very important for adaptation that you accept the reality as it is, right? If you're fighting the reality as it is, you are not in a position to adapt. So
Yeah,
adapt.
and you perish in the bargain.
Yeah. No, and so perishing is one part of it, I guess. And that is sort of, thinking about it as if you don't adapt, you will perish. So that's a fear response. This is a
Right.
different one, that if you do not accept the changes around you, we are now talking at the level of how we can go about making changes. If we are fighting those changes rather than accepting them and saying that we will now make changes, you can't adapt, right?
Right.
And this is the
Right.
linkage between adaptation and acceptance.
Right. True. Yeah. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
So it's a simple typewritten, dictum. Accept what it is, what isn't, what is not, you accept it.
Correct.
Hello. Yeah. And adapt to what is, yeah.
Correct.
And move on to the next. It's a philosophy kind of a thing. And accept what isn't. That it's coming, it's around you, and you adapt to it.
Yeah.
And then you move on to the next level and the next organism and next paradigm. You move from one paradigm to another and move on to what could be. So that is how creativity comes in. If you are aware of all this, you become more creative, acceptance and adaptation and forward movement. Yeah, accept, adapt, and move forward. Accept, adapt, move forward. So this can be your mantra for creative and more powerful ways of existing. Any comments, Venkatesh?
No, absolutely. I guess this was just building on the previous point that acceptance is necessary. And I guess this is sort of to the point that they talk about in the Serenity Prayer, as it's called. Accept the difference between sort of knowing the difference between what you can change and what you can't, then working
Right,
on what you can change and moving forward, right?
right.
So, absolutely.
So all this clearly means something that if you're rigid, yeah,
Yeah,
and don't adapt, you don't grow.
correct,
If you're rigid, if you're rigid, you don't grow. If you're rigid, you are dead. You know.
correct,
And if you are flexible, you live.
correct,
There's a very simplistic but very powerful dictum.
correct,
Don't be rigid. If you want to adapt and move forward, don't be rigid. Be
correct,
flexible.
correct,
As we say in daily conversation, accept, adjust karo. Like a taxi wala will say, adjust kar lo boss.
correct, correct. The famous Bangalore one, Solpa adjust Madi. Basically, I guess adjust to everything.
Adjust.
Don't fight it. Correct.
Right, right. And this happens at the boardroom level, it happens at any level. I have heard my own boardroom talk. One big manager, another big manager, both of them worth several millions of rupees. The one tells the other, accept it, yeah, accept it. Uh,
Correct, correct,
who is telling whom and at what level, where billions of dollars are involved. The
correct,
one guy accept it.
correct,
And if you don't accept you are rigid, you are dead,
correct,
like that.
correct,
And in this context, there is this being like water. Now,
correct,
water doesn't have its own shape or size or anything, but it takes on the shape and size of anything that flows in or it stays in. Stays in a pot, you get the shape of a pot.
correct,
You take a little tube, you adapt and you become like the tube,
correct,
and so forth.
correct,
Being like water is be flexible, be adaptable.
correct,
Hmm? Then you find your way in and way forward.
correct,
Otherwise, you don't have a way forward. You are stagnant. You are
correct,
finished.
correct,
So being like water is accepted or demanded as a necessary quality
correct.
for you to
Adapt.
adopt, accept, and move forward. Yeah.
Correct,
Ultimately, the emphasis is on moving forward.
correct,
If you don't move forward, all this is just theory or even nonsense.
correct,
You move forward, yeah, you're okay like that.
correct.
Yeah. Some of the most dynamic concepts are conveyed in monosyllables.
Correct.
Yes, no. Like
Binary, correct, correct. Now, and now
binary.
what is very interesting is this statement in recent times. The picture is of Bruce Lee, who is a very
Yeah,
strong karate player. And, at least for the younger generation, I don't call it young. I am now an old man. But for many of us, this statement was made famous by Bruce Lee because he said that even if you're a big martial artist like him, you have to
Hmm.
be flexible. There is a lot of strength in being flexible. So don't like water is strong, right? Water is powerful. Just because it is adapting and it is fluid doesn't mean it is weak. So
Right.
that was, I guess, the additional context to that. And I guess
Yeah,
this is further statement of that, right? Going with the flow.
yeah, yeah. You go with the flow. You go with whatever shape of the container that you carry in like a pot or a whatever, udhrani or big container, whatever. You
Correct,
know, with the flow and force nothing. Take on the flow, take on the thing that is given to you.
correct,
Again, a bit this philosophy. Whatever you have is the truth. If you don't have it,
correct,
you don't. You know, sometimes it may sound very funny, but you are what you have, you are what you do,
correct,
and so forth.
correct. And
So,
when in the end we'll come to how this fits very well within our Indian philosophy that
right,
you have to accept things as they are and do
right,
your karma within it, right? Rather than saying that I will not do my karma under these circumstances or those circumstances.
right. Now, here is a diagram or is a picture which tells you sort of how how an organism can respond or react to an environment.
Correct,
There are jars here, glass jars, and there's a bunch of fish there,
right,
and one jumps from the jar to the next jar or something
correct,
where, excuse me, because of the congestion or the increase in population of the fish,
correct,
five or six or seven fish don't jump, whereas one fellow takes courage in his two hands or two fins and
correct,
jumps, and
correct,
he survives. Otherwise, this I have seen happening in, to the temple near Mahad in Maharashtra,
right,
where during summer the water level keeps going down. The fish gets restless before they die,
correct,
and if you sit there and watch the fish, you know, the water level is down to just a half a pot or half a bucket or whatever,
Correct.
and there are many fish to deal with,
Correct.
and you can see one or two fish jumping.
Correct. Correct.
This picture is not theory. This picture is the
Reality. Correct. Correct. And I think
reality.
it's an important point, just in the context of what we just said before. Accepting the current situation and going with the flow doesn't mean being passive.
Yeah,
Like this fish, you have to take action, but first you have to accept the reality that it is congested there. Then only can you move forward and jump. But this is to clarify that being accepting of the current situation is not the same as being passive.
right,
You can be action oriented and you can move forward and you can seize opportunities, I guess, like here.
right. Very true. Now, another example of adaptation here is a
Correct.
giraffe. And giraffes have long necks, yeah, and they have long necks. Why? Because they adapted to the
Correct.
environment in a way that you could reach up the trees and the other plants at a higher level, which a normal animal, well, like a cow or something, cannot, a sheep or something cannot.
Correct.
Even among sheep, there are some sheep which will graze only around the knee level. Others
Right.
will sort of eat around neck level. So
Correct.
if you go to a farm, this also I have seen, some big fish and some goat and sheep will graze only at a particular level.
Correct.
And those who have learned to adapt and to go ahead, they
Correct.
will reach out and get hold of the leaves. Now,
Correct.
this is also visible in nature.
Correct.
So if you
And
wait long
mountain
enough,
goats, for example, will go to places others can't. And similarly,
yeah,
goats versus sheep. Goats will climb up onto trees. Sheep won't. Right? Small
right,
trees at any rate. Yes.
right. So again, adaptation. Now, closer to our commercial life, working from home, of course, it is
Correct.
losing its shine or sheen nowadays. Working from home used to be a dictum during the
Correct.
peak
In
days of.
COVID in particular, right? Everybody had to adapt in COVID. Correct. Doctor, can you speak up a little bit? Can you speak a little louder?
Is my microphone not okay or something?
No,
I
no,
don't
I
know.
think you continue, doctor. Just speak a little louder. That's all.
Yeah. So working from home is an example of adaptation.
Right.
And if even that doesn't work, then you have to change and then do something else, create a paradigm for yourself. Even if working from home is not possible, working from office is not possible, then you create a new paradigm, new algorithm, wherein you continue to be productive, you
Correct.
know.
Correct.
So this is important. You change your environment, adapt, and then if not fully successful, move on to different environments.
Correct.
Now, is my voice any better now? I thought it
Yes,
was
I think, sorry, doctor, maybe you're just slightly moved back. I asked you to speak up, but I think you moved too much in front. Yeah, please stay there. No, and I guess
okay.
to this slide, we were making the point that in COVID, work from home was an important adaptation to the changes that COVID brought, right? For example,
Yeah,
even you and I learned to use Zoom more during COVID. It was an opportunity to learn various things, or some people used it as an opportunity to redecorate, like you said there, in order to work from home. And now today, I guess changes have come again where organizations are saying come back to work, and
right.
you have to adapt to that as well, right?
Yeah. So working from home was a new normal, and now working back again to office
And
is also a
correct,
new normal.
go back to
So that is-
office is the new normal. Absolutely, yeah,
yeah. So what does it all mean? Ultimately, whatever is happening around you, you adapt, you adopt whatever you can, and then you change what you can, and etc. etc. You accept what you cannot change, and so forth. There are multiple paradigms for that.
correct,
Now, irrespective of what is happening, hmm,
yeah,
you need to adjust and adapt and get rid of certain things.
correct,
If you're not really working okay to your level or satisfaction, you detach.
correct,
It, it may sound a little odd, but you should know when to detach. For example, you
correct,
know, if you don't know where to detach, where you let go, you keep crying, and unendingly there is something to cry about.
correct.
So you learn to say, okay, go, forget it, move on, let go. Let go is another dictum that one has to learn. And
Correct.
for that, you got backup from Bhagavad Gita,
Correct.
from verse to 2.48.
Correct.
In Sanskrit, it goes, Yogastha Kuru Karmani, means, Arjuna tells
Krishna tells
sorry,
Arjuna. Correct.
Krishna tells Arjuna. not the other way.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yogastha Kuru Karmani means what? Yogastha means sitting inside, practicing yoga.
Correct.
So Yogastha means you are within the city, within the system.
Correct.
Yeah. Karmani, that you perform your karma. Okay. So Yogastha Karmani Krita. That's the way it is.
Correct.
And what does it really mean? Siddhya, you learn to accept your victory and defeat with equal level of maturity and so forth.
Equipoise. Correct.
Perform your duty, not bothering about what really is going to happen. At the same time, with full devotion to what is the karma for you allotted at that moment for that
Correct.
particular purpose. So
Correct.
Yogastha Guru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya. Sangam is attachment. Tyaktva means to leave. Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya is Arjuna.
Arjuna. Correct.
Guru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya. Siddhi Asiddhya, Siddhi Asiddhya is success or failure.
Correct.
Siddhi, you take both at the same level of intelligence.
Correct.
And that is how you attain equanimity, and that is how you become a yogi.
Correct.
So a yogi will have to accept, and then again adapt whatever he has to be. In Mahabharata, the war is going on around both Krishna and Arjuna, and people are killing and getting killed, dying and creating death, causing more death and so forth.
Correct.
Now, if you are really a karma yogi, Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva. Sangam Tyaktva, attachment has to be detached.
Detached. Correct. Correct.
And
Perfect.
Siddhya Samabhutva. Siddhi and Asiddhi should be Samabhutva, equally respected as entities.
Correct.
This is called yoga. So, Siddhya, I just get this. Siddhya Bhutva.
No. Basically, it is that ability to detach from either success or failure that allows you to do your work in the best possible way.
Right.
Absolutely. And that is adapting. That is adapting to the circumstance. That equanimity is how you can actually adapt to any situation.
Siddhya Sama Bhutva. Both of them are Sama.
Correct.
Equal. Equanimity.
Yes.
So that is the principle of Bhagavad Gita, and the same principle, maturity-wise, keeps repeating over 18 chapters.
Correct.
But all of essentially boil down to the same concept of karma yoga, and that is important in adaptation also. Again, change what you can what you can't change, accept what you can't, etc., and so forth.
Correct.
So that is all inbuilt in the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita.
Correct.
Next slide, please.
No, we are on the last slide. So
yeah.
I'll conclude then, Doctor. I think thank you so much for this wonderful session. I think today what we did was we covered why being flexible and adapting is such an important thing. We went first to the fact that as organisms, even at a biological level, we are the products of evolution, which is nothing but a process of continuous adaptation, right? We have let go of features that are no longer relevant. We have built features that are more important to our current circumstances. And that's how, we transition from ape to man. It's not like that's over. That is still happening to us. Even at the level of bacteria, bacteria know how to live in both oxygen-less environments and oxygen-filled environments. At the intellectual level, it means accepting the changes around us rather than sort of trying to deny them or fight them. We use the example of being like water, which is being flexible and taking the shape of the circumstances around us without thinking its weakness. In fact, it's powerful, allows us to take the opportunities like the giraffe to exploit other opportunities you would not otherwise at the ground level. And finally, we looked at spirituality to say detaching from an obsession with either victory or failure is what frees us to actually keep moving forward, which is finally what all of this in wellness has been about and what we've been talking about. Yes, doctor?
Very good. Good summary as usual. Wait till the
Thank
next
you so
one.
much. So look forward to the next one. Thank you so very much, doctor. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.